Moving on. Ladies and gentlemen, the next session on 5G for the enterprise and private networks. We have with us distinguished panelists and experts in their domain. I would like to now call upon the panel. We have with us Kapil Ahuja, CEO North Reliance Jio. Mr. Ahuja, currently CEO of Reliance Jio North India, is empowering Indian society and connecting our customers to what matters most in line with the Digital India vision of government. As CEO for North India, covering 10 states with over 150 million subscribers and a revenue worth $3 billion, allowing customers to connect with a world of opportunities over fast 4G LTE data network across India. May I invite on stage Mr. Kapil Ahuja. Our next panelist, Himanshu Gupta, Country Manager, Telecom, Media and Entertainment, HPE India. A business professional with more than 19 plus years of experience in sales and marketing in IT, a team leader possessing people management skills, excellent interpersonal communication and organizational skills, proficient to perform under high pressure situations and meeting deadlines under diverse working environment, an avid learner with a strong work ethic. Put your hands together and let's invite Mr. Himanshu Gupta. Our third panelist for this session, Aditya Khaitan, Partner Consulting, Deloitte, India. Aditya started his professional career with KPMG in 2005. During the 12 years in KPMG India, he had the opportunity to provide consulting services in more than 20 countries across Middle East, Africa, Australia, Western Europe, including multiple engagements in India as well. He has completed his tenure as director with management consulting practice, during which managed and deliver engagements focused primarily on the telecommunications sector across telecom service providers, passive infrastructure providers, broadband service providers, and LTE network operators. Put your hands together and let's welcome Mr. Aditya Khaitan. Yeah. Thanks. And our final panelist for this session, TR Dua, DG, DIPA. Mr. Tilak Raj Dua is the Director General of DIPA and Chairman ITU APT. The total experience that he holds accounts for more than 35 years in the telecom sector. His experience includes all facets of telecom, be it product development, business development, telecom licensing, regulatory issues with respect to interconnection, roaming, unified licensing and infrastructure sharing, mobile number portability, spectrum management, spectrum-related issues like spectrum pricing, efficient utilization, and spectrum reframing, technical collaboration, and introduction of new products. Let's welcome on stage TR Dua, DG, DIPA. The session will be moderated by Shubhendu Parth, former editor, Dataquest and Voice&Data. May I invite Shubhendu on stage, please. Over to you, Shubhendu. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, and it's actually a privilege to be with the honored guest today, and at a point of time when India is entering the 5G era, I would say. We have been waiting for it eagerly, and a lot of excitement coming in, and as the opening speaker Piyush mentioned, it would be a large impact on businesses, B2B impact would be there. And there's been a lot of discussion on public cloud in the previous sessions. So I would think, we would keep it to the private network and private 5G network and how the enterprises would benefit out of it. So without much ado, I'd like to open the floor to the panelists, and let's understand from each one of you, starting with Mr. T.R. Dua, what will be the impact of 5G on enterprises? Is it really a hype, or we have not seen much of use cases in India? There have been some use cases globally. So what would be the impact, and how will it be a game changer?
Thank you very much. I thank the organizers to give me an opportunity. I never thought I'll be an opening batsman, but let me think what I can do. I think if we look at the NDCP 2018, It does, if you look at the first paragraph, it says that there is a need to look at the holistic view on the AI, ML, and et cetera, and IoT. With that, the infrastructure 4.0. Before we talk of the enterprise or we talk of the consumer side, I think we need to check, A, whether are we ready to take on this project itself or not. There are few things in the ecosystem that we need to address. Few things have done, few things are yet to come, and that still needs evaluation on the enterprise side. One, we were waiting for the auction, which is done, and I think it has been done successfully. It only shows the commitment of the operator to go in for the new technology. The second one is the part of the other ecosystem is the network, equipment, and the most important, or equally important, is the availability of the infrastructure, which is very, very important, whether you want to enterprise or something like that. Now, on the infrastructure side, we had 3G experience, we had the 4G experience. Here it is a different because you got three sets of the spectrum, which is the 700, 3300, and 2600, mainly to provide coverage, capacity, and the bandwidth. So therefore, what is required is to make sure that the infrastructure is ready. There are a number of steps which are needed to make sure we get the return on investment on the enterprise itself. Now, few steps which have come is the new amendment to the guideline, which a present guideline which came in the ROW, which does address the issue with regard to the small cells, and also the various other, how do we handle those ones, and also involving the other guys into the ecosystem. Like if you have to do the densification, what was required is that we need at every 50 to 100 feet, we need a pole. How do we do that? There are more than 20 million poles available in this. This exercise was done, first thing in the Kerala was done, where we had 94,000 poles. The first proof of concept has been done, and the guideline has come. That's number one. Now, all other discoms have to go on. The second one is the amendment which came. The third one is the ease of doing business. The reduction in the fees which is required is that now the present fees which is there is around 100 rupees per pole, which is still, I think, is to be again toned down. These are some of the issues which we need to address before we really think up. But in any case, if you look at the enterprise, if you look at the private networks, this is the time to make sure that this one, first, let us look for the consumer. Second, we look after the enterprise. Let's go into third, into private networks. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Dua. I'd ask Aditya and request you not to talk more on the infrastructure, but on the impact and how it will be a game changer for the enterprises.
Sure, thank you. Thanks for the question, and thank you for the opportunity. As we started the... Yeah, hi. Yeah, okay. As we started the day today, Piyush had a slide right in the presentation which spoke about the economic impact of 5G. And what was very evident is when we talk about this technology, the benefit or the impact is not just limited to the telcos. In fact, telcos were not even the first on that chart as the industry sector. So purely from economic impact perspective, till about 2030, it's estimated that it would impact various industries to the tune of about $450 billion. Now, the use cases that are there across industries could be from an efficiency perspective, could be from a productivity perspective, could be enabling supply chains, could be enabling, let's say, automation in that sense. And the use cases that are coming about now are enabling all these aspects. You spoke about the fact that previously we've not seen many use cases because when we talk about the kind of networks that have been deployed over here, we did not have very many instances of private LTE networks in India. Now, when we talk about 5G, the good thing that the regulator has done, looking at the developments across the world, is allocate or reserve spectrum for private captive networks. So now, people have deployment options. They can go with a telco. They can use the telco services. They are developing end-to-end services, end-to-end cross-sector use cases. I mean, last year, Airtel put up a roadshow with various enterprise sector use cases. Jio has come out in the media announcing partnerships, not just with enterprises, but with other ecosystem players, where they are enabling specific use cases. Similarly with Vodafone Idea as well. So the use cases are being developed where they can offer that to the enterprises end to end, and that would see more uptake as we go about. But also it is very important to note that globally, the kind of uptake that was expected for the private networks, that has not been the case. Typically, I mean, if you look at the GSA statistics, in January 2022, this year, there were about 750 odd private networks deployed, which was about 14% increase from November in the previous year. Now, this has generally been slower than what we had anticipated. And the reasons are supply chain related challenges. The ecosystem is still developing. And for all the use cases, the endpoint devices, which are 5G enabled, etc., are not available. But then as the ecosystem matures, as the use cases evolve, as the technology evolves itself, these challenges will be taken care of. So in terms of the benefits, they're there for everyone to see across the sectors. From an Indian context, where we are seeing a lot of traction, manufacturing obviously, and it was mentioned by the keynote speakers as well, automotive being another one, so Industry 4.0 use cases. From an India context, healthcare, education, these would be the others, transport and logistics. So where we would see a lot of use cases being readily taken to the market, uptake of those use cases, and of course, realization of benefits that are to follow.
Thanks. Over to you.
Thanks, Shubhendu. A very warm welcome to all the guests here. First of all, I would want to thank the Government of India for closing the auctions in a great way. India's digital policy 2020, which was very, very focused around the 5G vision for the country. And there it was very clear that the Digital India initiative will bank on the shoulders of 5G. The smart city missions, the smart villages missions, and all these will be the focus areas for 5G. So if you look a bit deeper and go into what these missions were expected to do, I think broadband connectivity 100% across the country, with 10 Gbps connectivity in the urban areas, and at least 1 Gbps in the urban areas. Now those were the figures and benchmarks set by the country. Now, all this is not possible without 5G. There is a great learning from the market. You said, is it a hype? I would say it is not. Just look at your neighbor, and we all know who is the leader in 5G in the world. China, for example, has already put more than 700,000 5G towers, and maybe by end of the year, there will be more than 1.1 billion towers. And they have a 5-year plan which is called as the highway. It is about going at least 5 million towers on 5G by 2025. Now imagine the type of investments they're doing. Just to tell you, they are investing $800 billion, and the economic impact on the overall industry is expected to be in the range of $3.4 trillion. Now with all these figures, can anybody still doubt the relevance and importance of 5G? I think nobody would doubt. Today, China has 700,000 almost 5G subscribers, and the pace at which they're developing should be looked at very, very seriously. India, I think, has done its job well to look at the growth which is presented to its markets and the telcos by looking at US, Japan, and other countries where 5G has all taken a stand, and they are growing. As Aditya said, the pace of growth in private 5G has been slow, which is a fact. And many reasons for that. Pandemic was one, availability of ecosystem was one, the devices. Now look at why it was being stalled. Because of pandemic, the ecosystem, release 17 of 3GPP, which was supposed to be frozen earlier, could not happen. That got frozen only in June 2022. Now the ecosystem will evolve at a faster pace, and new applications can be onboarded and new devices as well. So there is a lot at stake for the country. Private 5G, or the so-called enterprise 5G, will be a game changer. It will be an enterprise highway. I would call it an information highway or a platform, an innovation platform for the industry. which will really be leveraged in the next 5 to 7 years to literally bring competitive and sustainable differentiation in their businesses. If somebody is not able to latch onto it, I'm sure he will repent or maybe not be existing after 5 to 7 years. So regarding the relevance, regarding the time, in terms of how fast people have to come and onboard this, I think it is running out for companies. But since India has taken a start now, we feel the economic impact and what Aditya said, $450 billion, that is for India by 2030. But I think the economic impact and the pull-through which it will do on the entire ecosystem around it will be much, much higher. As we say, a 10% increase in broadband penetration can actually increase the GDP by 1% for a country. But for India, the numbers will be far more higher because of the productivity and the other challenges we have. So we will actually grow much more faster. So I would say we are ready. The industry is experimenting. I think a lot of speakers have talked about end-to-end what all is required to make this successful. But net-net, it is a reality, and it is a reality which is just striking on the doors.
Thanks a lot, Himanshu. Kapil, just want to understand also, since you are part of the service provider, and there is a big role that the service providers also have to play in the private network because they have to support. So it's not just that, it's an ecosystem, as Himanshu mentioned. So could you add, we understand the importance. My question was not that it's in terms of hype, it was more that enterprise-wise, the benefit-wise, really, we have not seen much. So over to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Shubhendu, and glad to be part of this panel. Thank you, Mr. Dua. You have been an industry veteran, so very happy to be sharing the panel with you. And of course, Aditya and Himanshu. So first of all, I think what I would like to just, say, what is there, what 5G is offering, and something which, a lot of us have heard about before and had read about. But I think the 5 things which 5G offers. First, of course, is the data in abundance. Second is the speed, the 10x kind of speeds we talk about. Third is the low latency. I think we have heard a lot about latency. Fourth is a true sense of fixed mobile convergence, which comes with that. And fifth is cloud, artificial intelligence, and Internet of Things. I think the fundamental change, Shyam talked about, it's not more of the same. The fundamental change in terms of the technology which is happening. The previous technologies have been more about connecting people. With 5G, we are looking at connecting anything, anytime, anywhere. So that's, I think if you put it in perspective, it's all the sensors, all the devices which will come, all the applications which ride on top of it. So the economic impact is going to be huge. I think that's the excitement which 5G has created, and all these stimulating discussions which we are having all around the use cases. We talked about, Aditya mentioned about the private networks. I think globally already, I think in 60 odd countries, we have about 700, 800 odd networks. Now, when we look at it in the Indian context, I think what we need to really also see is what we were 6 years back before, we as Jio launched the services, and where we are today. We have embraced technology because it was affordable, it is present, it is everywhere. And the current consumption of data which is happening, because of the millennial population, the median age of our young population, the data consumption is the highest in the world. So 17 GBs, and with 5G coming along, it could double, triple. Now coming to your question of, what is that to offer in terms of the enterprises? There's a lot, and there's a lot of use cases which are being talked about. There are 3 main areas which I would like to address, and this is not economic. Economic, of course, would happen along with that, but the societal impact. One is the healthcare, second is the education, and third is agriculture. So if we look at the societal impact of 5G in all these three sectors, it is going to be massive. We saw it during the COVID times, how digital applications came around and how healthcare, which was primarily person-to-person contact, it moved very rapidly. And in my discussion with the healthcare experts, this is going to be massive in terms of the change which is going to be brought about in healthcare. Like we have the 4 Ps in marketing. In healthcare, they're also talking about the 4 Ps, which is personalized, which is proactive, which is I'm forgetting the other 2 Ps, but I think the way they are moving, this is going to be a very, very different healthcare economy as we look at it. Similarly, in the case of education, I think we have seen the benefits of already with 4G, how the remotest of the locations got connected with the education. All of our kids, some of the kids who were studying abroad, we looked at it, studying here through their all their online meetings and so on. So the further how it is going to evolve is going to be massive, and the societal impact of the remotest of the locations getting connected through 5G is going to make a huge difference. It is with immersive technologies which are going to come along. Giving a real-time experience is going to be huge. Similarly, again, when we look at agriculture, for example, with drones, how very targeted, applications can be, the spraying of the pesticides and so on, and a very, very, targeted and very, efficient way of really deploying that. And it is going to happen. We as a country have leapfrogged, many of us, and I strongly believe that we will adopt technology faster than the others, and with the platform that we have now, which has been created, the digital platform with the vision of our Honorable Prime Minister, I think the 5G is going to really offer the next set of leadership. And I think more than just following the rest of the world, I think the use cases are going to get developed here. There is going to be a lot which is going to happen, and there's a lot of excitement, I would say, which is coming along with 5G, and we are pretty excited about creating all with the ecosystem with our partners going forward.
Thanks, Kapil. I see that the timer is almost closing, and we have a very tight deadline. So without getting into more on the, I'd quickly want to understand, Himanshu, maybe you can start about the challenges and the solutions.
Okay, that's a very good question. Now, there are various vectors in which we can analyze it, because as somebody has said, the 3 major use cases of 5G, they basically revolve around EMBB, which is enhanced mobile broadband, which can be primarily used by all the consumers, which is B2C focused. But when it comes to private 5G, I think this is definitely useful in various use cases like stadiums, or malls and retail, or concerts, where you can actually use this for developing applications, AR, VR, mixed reality, where users can participate along with the main performers and all in a augmented reality environment. Like that, you have other use cases which are very generic in nature, like EMBB, which is like URLCC, which is ultra reliable and low latency, where manufacturing, healthcare, in healthcare like robotic surgery, where haptics is required, so you need to send data back and communication signals back in real time. So all these are the cases which will really propel this motion forward. Now coming to the major challenge, I think challenge requires, is basically in 4-5 areas. Number is availability of the right resources and domain experts, which is definitely area of crunch. And when I talk to a lot of consultants from EY, Accenture, they all say this is an area which needs to be picked up in the next 2 to 3 years, so that we're able to do well, at least in the country. Second area is around ecosystem development. As I said earlier, applications, devices, There's a lot of work to do in that area, but I think it is catching up. And unless that catches up, that will remain a challenge for the adoption of the private 5G in enterprises. Third area in challenges comes in terms of the IT governance and security. Now, if you have a company which is running on today Wi-Fi, as the internal LAN, which is covering all the aspects. Take, for example, Maruti could be one example, or Ashok Leyland. We're using Wi-Fi current technologies to manage all their, shop floor environments. But when they transition to say 5G tomorrow, is the IT departments ready? Is the workforce ready? Is the mindset there? How do they transition to managing both? Because it will be a transition which will coexist along with the current setup. It will not be a one day big bang approach. So that is a very important element, the IT governance, security, and the ability to manage all of it together, along with the new ecosystem of applications, infrastructure, the connectivity, and then learning the nuances of managing ultra-low latency environments, which is sub-millisecond, as you all know. So there are various challenges which will emerge. But if you're able to bring the right knowledge ecosystem and work as one team, and have, approach wherein, there's a framework called a lab framework, and if you look at, India's guidance in the digital mission report, you'll find it talks about starting with the POC, moving to the device testing, to network testing, and then finally to the interworking of all of it together, and then do field trials. So there's a full framework involved. The challenge lies in putting these things together, making different technologies work and handshake, and then be able to give an ROI to the use case. And that's where the buck stops. If you're not able to decide the ROI from day one, and then work backwards and figure out what is the right use case for the enterprise, it will be a very difficult journey for a lot of companies. So somebody has to literally go through the entire cycle, plan it. So I would call it in three ways. You start with, first as a simple, introspection, where you do a gap analysis within the organization from where you want to be as a company, what are your goals as a business, and then how do you bridge those gaps with the technologies and data technologies available like 5G and all. Second is experimentation. In that phase, you basically go and put a CXO level person responsible for that, bring the strategies, develop the internal teams and learnings within the organization, so that with the help of a telco or a system integrator, you're able to literally build the incomplete ecosystem together. And third area is investments, where you have to literally take a leap of faith and go and plan for the big digital platforms which can help your organization evolve into the journey of digital 5G. So that's how I would like to call it. It's a definitely challenging, but the opportunity, as I said earlier, I gave certain examples, it's a huge opportunity for country to be digitally connected and go to the next level in the information highway. And unless we get all these ecosystem partners together, it will be definitely a difficult journey. But if you're able to harness it well and plan it well as an organization, then the challenges can be converted to opportunities in no time.
Thanks, Himanshu. The enterprises need to take the leap of faith, as you mentioned. Aditya, would you like to, as a CIO or as a strategic planning team, I would want to understand what are the challenges, core challenges?
In terms of core challenges, I would just lay stress upon a couple of things that Himanshu mentioned. He covered the challenges across the organization. The specific aspect that he spoke of is the return on capital deployed. Now, let's say, for example, an organization is planning to deploy a private captive network, and they take the spectrum and they deploy their own network. Let's see, today the advantage that it offers is that you can unlock a plethora of use cases that sit under an umbrella. Like, for example, when you talk about Industry 4.0 or smart factory, you can unlock video surveillance, analytics, robotics, connected vehicles. So there's a bunch of use cases, each of them having a separate requirement. And from that standpoint, every use case, you could deploy different deployment options. Today you could go with a telco and deploy it. You could deploy it as part of your own private network. So in terms of planning this aspect, such that you understand that, okay, what is the return on capital that you're going to get, and ideally, what is the best deployment option, and the evolution of those use cases, that becomes quite critical. You start off with a use case where there are no returns, the plan goes bust there and that's there itself. From a CIO perspective, etc., the other aspect would be the integration with the existing sort of platforms that might be there. Now, in typical industry environments, a big thing when we deploy private networks or any 5G use cases is the operational technology to the IT convergence. And typically, huge steps are being undertaken because typically the operational technology, you find a lot of legacy PLC environments, those old equipments which do not have, let's say, a node where you could connect it to a platform. So that OT to IT convergence and planning that aspect from a CIO standpoint also becomes very critical. What I'm trying to say in sum and substance is that one size does not fit all. And depending on the size of the enterprise, depending on the type of use cases, depending on the sector, depending on the deployment options, your case might vary very significantly from your neighbor. So planning that out becomes absolutely critical.
Thanks a lot. Mr. Dua, would you want to quickly touch upon the infrastructure challenges for the private LTE and setting up the network? And I'd request to be short and sweet.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Having been with this so-called evolution or revolution you can call, 2G to 3G to all that stuff, I think in last about 2 years' time, what we've seen, most of the challenges that we used to face earlier, take a case of the ROW, take a case of the SACFA clearances, I think now the time period that has reduced is pretty good. Now, few challenges that we need to address is what he said, whether it is an enterprise or it is a private network, there is a 5G available to you, which has all the characteristics, whether the enterprise wants to use it or the private network. I think one is the fiber itself. Today you have 35% tower which are fiberized. Maybe even if we go by the national broadband mission, we need to do it by 70% by any standard by next year. And then you take the backhaul fiber, which is again today is almost going to 3.4 million kilometers, which we need almost 5 million to be done. So therefore, another one which is required is I can lay the fiber, I can put the fiber, sharing is the most important. If you want to do it, everybody to reduce the capex, to say faster go to the market, I think sharing is the model which India has done it. So therefore, I think these are some of the challenges which needs to be done, which have been done and which are being addressed. Now, there are many use cases over there, but it is not a new concept which is being done in India, UK, Japan, Spain, etc. If you look at UK, they have the railway development. In Taiwan, there's a manufacturing which is going on. In Spain, they have done the big. I think these are all models which are already available. What he rightly said is, what is the return on investment, which is important. Challenges we have seen right through, this sector has always been full of challenges, and we've been overcoming this. I think we will meet those challenges. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Dua. Kapil, your last word on the challenges and the solutions.
Yeah, so when we look at specific deployments of private networks, there are three types of models that are emerging. Model one is primarily the radio access network staying with the private enterprise. And the rest of it, the user and the control plane goes to the public network. Model two is a mix, kind of, which is edge compute also happening at the private network side. And last is the standalone, which the entire network, including RAN, including the user and the control plane, all within that. So depending on the return on investment, I think that's how the whole ecosystem is going to evolve. But we have thousands of large enterprises in the country, and we have millions of small and medium enterprises. And what 5G is going to do is bridge the digital divide between the large enterprises and the smaller and the medium ones. And why I say that is because the technology is such that the adoption of that, along with the affordability which is going to happen, I think this digital divide and the thrust which will come for the entire digital economy, and my belief is this is going to be beyond the numbers which we have talked about today, and we are ushering into the new digital revolution with 5G.
Thank you, Kapil, and yeah, Himanshu.
Sitting here and without covering what HP can add to this challenges will not be correct. So I thought let me take another minute and tell you. See, coming to the challenges part, I think the three models, what Kapil talked about are right. Now HP has a solution which we call as 5G in a box. For example, you have to deploy 5G network for tactical forces, operating in say Afghanistan. You need to carry a complete 5G setup in a box. So we have our edge line connects, category of compute, which we call as edge line 8000, where we have 4 blades in which can take the user plane functions, control plane functions, with all the necessary, functionalities, along with the antenna externally connected. It can be actually sent even in an airplane in the overhead bins. The size is, and the weight is less than 30 kgs. And you can use as a complete all-in-a-box 5G type of a solution. Now that is very, very good for deployments like in oil rigs, where you cannot really set up the setup. You simply have to carry everything together in mines. As I said, in defense forces and so forth. Second deployment is, cases which are challenging, but HP again as a solution is around distributed deployment. You have the control plane, sitting on maybe a public cloud. It could be anywhere. It could be a control data center. And, you have the user plane functions on the edge side. Again, we have products and solutions which can literally take care of everything. Now, our IP is in building the solution stack, which involves the software, services, integrations, automations, all put together. And HP comes with a legacy of 30 years working in the telco domain and having these automated more than 50 solutions in the telco domain on software side, along with the hybrid IT infrastructure, which is able to service enterprises for maybe again 30, 40 years. So, and the capability to integrate and put this together. So along with our partners, we have developed this 5G core stack, which has network functions from HP and the partners, and we leverage the radio from the vendors like Airspan and JMA Wireless, and we put the complete solution either in a distributed mode or, as I know, 5G in a box solution, which can literally make these life of our customers very, very simple, because I can today challenge and give this 5G in a box solution deployed with all the automation within 1 hour. Now, can somebody really agree with that? Yes, I can do it. The core portion can be deployed. And it can coexist with other deploying models also. Now, the best part and the biggest challenge I think we all missed talking about is you have to start somewhere as a company, but you want to really start big, or you want to literally hold on to your finances and spend it judicially. So HP has a model called Edge to Cloud platform, which is HP GreenLake model, where you can consume the complete IT on premises as a cloud. So pay as you grow. So we have given all the ammunitions for the enterprises to literally take a leap of faith and get into the private 5G market. Depending on the use case, the vertical, the challenges, you can pick one or the other deployment models and go ahead with us. So that's where I would want to end my discussion.
Thanks a lot, Himanshu. And with the times already, we have taken more than allocated, and I'm sure Anil would be cursing me, the next session moderator. And as you all mentioned, let's take a leap, faith of leap. And as Mr. Dua mentioned, that telecom sector has always faced challenges, and we have been able to deal with it. And this wouldn't be any different. We heard about the ROI factor also, which Aditya and Himanshu and even Kapil mentioned. And that definitely is something that the board of directors and the CFOs would want to know. And I hope, I'm sure you would have a lot of questions, but request you to take it offline. And thanks a lot. And
Thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you, Shubhendu. But I would just like you to stay on stage for a minute. And Shubhendu, can you please present them our tokens of appreciation for giving their time and their valuable thoughts to our gentlemen. I would also like to tell everybody that this event is being streamed online and on all the digital platforms of Voice and Data and their social media handles. And also do visit the cyber media stall in the break. There are lots of magazines on display that can add a lot of value to your knowledge and your learning. Thank you, everyone. Let's give them a big round of applause, please.